They the DJ, we all did it at the Round Table Podcast.
Welcome to dinner at the Round Table Podcast with DJ John DeVar, Nelly Nell, Chris Ryder, and Bodega the DJ on the ones and twos. Your source to knowledge. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at dinner at the Round Table.
GG. GG, I am DJ Jones of all, Lionel, Chris Ryder. We all did at the Roundtable Podcast, your source to knowledge. 4th of July weekend special. You know what I'm saying? Lionel, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Live from New York. You already know what it is, man. We're back again. Even though we're short-staffed today, but we're still here, man. We're always here every week. We're always going to be a source to knowledge no matter what's going on. We don't give up. You know what I'm saying? We just get better every week. So here we are again, man. We're here to just elaborate on the whole 4th of July weekend. And I'm glad that hopefully everybody out there is safe and our listeners and viewers are safe and they just enjoyed a lovely weekend of the Independence Day, which we got to get into that because is it really an Independence Day or just for a few people?
There you go. Controversy. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the 4th of July, though, man. So, yeah, we're definitely going to elaborate on that, man. But current news, though, the NBA, I think in July 31st, they're going to begin the season, the continuation. But I forgot I'm not sure how it's going to work, though. I think they're going to have, like, a little tournament, and that's going to depict as far as, like, what teams are going to make it to the playoffs. But I think it's going to be, like, a mixture. It's not going to be, like, the Eastern Conference versus the Western Conference. I think it's going to be a mix of who has the best records, which it makes it more, competitive. But it's been an ongoing debate, though, as far as, like, players opting out. And, some players, are not really going to partake in the, back in the NBA season because of health reasons, which I think, it's a big thing to talk about because do you feel as if players should be obligated? Go back?
They do have contract agreements that basically dictate otherwise. But at the end of the day, nobody predicted this pandemic or, anything that's going on right now. And you got to think about it. It's really worth risking your life. But I'm pretty sure the NBA, being a big company that they are, they're taking the best precautions to make sure that their players and teams are all right. I know a lot of players are against, starting the season not only because of what's going on, the pandemic, but as soon as it ends, they have to come back November 1st for the next season. So that's part of the thing, too, that's bothering them. It's going to be such a short time frame from when the playoffs end to when they have to start the new season right away. So it's going to be such a rapid start for them that a lot of them are not really to go through that physical abuse in a sense. Because these guys train hard, They train hard, yeah. So that's part of the problem, too. But, it's difficult, man. The MLB just started too. The MLB just started their season. They're cutting their seasons to
So how's that with the MLB now? Like what they
82
doing?
games, yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of the players have the same, they have the same situation where they didn't really want to get involved because of health reasons and also because the MLB wanted to give them a pay cut and prorate their guarantee contract because the MLB is one of the only it's the only major sports company that guarantees your contract. So the MLB, that's part of their bargaining agreement with the Players Association, that you guaranteed your money regardless. So they were trying to prorate them, and I guess they came to an agreement that they weren't going to get prorated. So now the baseball players are actually going to play the short season. Maybe the NBA needs to, they don't need to because they already agreed to, but the players who opted out, I guess they weren't in agreement with what's going on.
Right. Now, my question, though, how's it work with the fans, though, going into those games, to watch those games?
Well, the thing is, so they doing it we're going to pull up an article, actually, to let our listeners know.
They're actually trying to create a way where they get in these big arenas, but it's going to be spread out, though. People are not going to be, obviously, next to each other. They're going to be spread out in different spaces.
Yeah, so they're definitely going to practice the whole
social distancing. I know.
Social distancing, yeah, which starts July 30th. So we're going to bring that up now so we can get our viewers and listeners here up to date.
Let me pull it up too. But it's, I mean, going back to just the sports in general, though. I mean, again, though, I definitely agree. I can't knock those players, but there's also where you just talked about, guaranteed contracts. Well, these players, some players don't have guaranteed contracts, and they're obligated to really go back because that's how they're going to get paid.
Absolutely.
You got players like Kyrie Irving, who started this whole player coalition as far as making a demand of we shouldn't play. We should really be more focused about the social issues that's going on right now in America. But he's a person. I mean, people make the argument that he has a guaranteed multi-million-dollar contract, so he's good. There's other players who basically, don't have that type of contract that he does. So, like it's just you gotta look at it from both perspectives. But it's like it's tricky when you really think about it. As far as should players return. And do you really think it's a real season though? Is it a real season though? And say for instance, whoever wins the championship, would it really be counted as a real season though? And do you think they really won that chip knowing that not all players were available to play, and you weren't really playing in your home arena? I mean, it's a tricky thing to think about. You know what I'm saying? The question is, do you think is it a real championship if they do win? Whatever team wins.
I mean, some will argue that it won't because, for instance, you had teams that had a real good start, and when the whole pandemic thing happened, it was on a real good flow. For instance, the Lakers, they were predicted to win the championship. What if they come back and the chemistry is not the same and they don't win the championship?
Yeah,
fans and basketball fans and people in general are going to be like, you know what, it's not fair. They should have won, but they stopped them from winning. Blase. They came back and they were all out of sync. They were discombobulated.
Right.
That would be one of the reasons. But I mean, during the lockout season, man, that stuff happened too, where a lot of teams had to readjust and come back and play a short season. And and then most people say that didn't really count. But at the end of the day, man, as long as it's competitive enough and teams are doing what they need to do, I mean, I think it's still valid. In my eyes, it's still valid as long as they come back and and bust some ass, because they are gonna have not as long as of a season, but somewhat enough competitive time to actually duke it out. And to give the listeners and the viewers a little bit of a background here. So July 30th is the start day of the season. The finals will end no later than October 13th. A total of 22 teams will return to this season. So this is what the teams are looking like. In the Eastern Conference, we got the Milwaukee Bucks, the Toronto Raptors, Boston Celtics, Miami Heat, Indiana Pacers, Philadelphia 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, Orlando Magic, Washington Wizards. West Coast, the Western Conference, Los Angeles Lakers, the Clippers, the Denver Nuggets, the Utah Jazz, the Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, Dallas Mavericks, Memphis Grizzlies, Portland Trail Blazers, New Orleans Pelicans, Sacramento Kings, San Antonio Spurs, and Phoenix Suns. This is just for our audio version because a lot of our listeners listen to our podcast via audio too, and they won't be able to get this information that we're showing our viewers on YouTube.
That's all on NBA.com, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so this is actual real information straight from the source, straight from the NBA. And so basically, what are the seeding games? The 8 remaining games, each returning team will play before the playoffs begin. So the games were selected from the team's remaining regular season matchups. Right? So they're coming back from the regular season matchups. And that schedule will continue in that sense. So there will be scrimmage games going down from the 22nd of July to the 28th. So they are gonna practice before they start the season, and the games will be played in Disney World, so that they could practice social distancing in the Disney World Resort. All the venues for the game inside in the Fieldhouse and Visa Athletic Center. That's what's going to be at. There will be no live audience. That goes to no live audience. Tickets available for the remaining of the season throughout the finals due to COVID-19 health protocol. So there won't be no live audience. The social distancing having it in the Disney World Resort is because the temperature over there is high. So it's easier to have the virus not travel as much.
Right.
And also, it's just basically to protect the players and the teams and the.
They're gonna be wearing a ring, right? They're gonna wear a ring, so that will detect if they tested positive or not.
Yes.
I don't think the NBA invested
Yes.
the amount of money on that.
Yes.
So there's no live audience. So their money is basically based on advertisement and commercials, really, because they can't make money from ticket sales, obviously.
Yeah, they won't be making money off the ticket sales or concession stands and none of that. But it's mostly for the protection of the players, the teams, and the NBA officials that they're doing it in such a big area like the Disney World Resort, because they can actually practice social distancing within themselves, right? So what do we got? So here we have the NBA has worked closely with infectious disease specialists, public health experts, and government officials to establish a rigorous program to prevent and mitigate the risk of related COVID-19, including regular testing protocol and stringent safety practices. So they got their team of people who's going to take care of that. The dates of the playoffs, the first round will begin the 17th of August, the conference finals the 31st of August, and the semifinals the 31st of August, the conference finals the 15th of September, and then the finals will begin on the 30th and not ending later than the 13th of October. So let's just go down to the playoff seeding, how that will work. The 7 teams in each conference with the best records will have clinched the playoff spot. The usual tiebreaker scenarios will be in place for those who seeds, like the wild card, or how they usually do it. And traditionally they have the best 8 teams, right? Now they're only doing 7, so that's the only difference for our listeners out there. And the tournament. So let's see how the tournament will work. Let's take this out the way here. Okay. So here we go. Let's just read real quick through it. Basically, so if there's a tiebreaker, the wild card will be played, and then the playoffs are gonna go the same way that they usually go. You know what I mean? It's the same way. So it's the first round is it's a 5-game series, right? And then the rest are a 7-game series.
I see right here.
That would determine the champion for the NBA season that season.
Do they cover as far as like how does the game work? Because if you're only playing in one arena, how many games are going to be there per day? And it's going to be like a triple header, quadruple header? Because again, they're going to play in the same arena.
Yeah, it's not really going into that right now. I guess they
probably haven't really figured it out there, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this real quick. Doesn't really go into how the games would. Let me see.
4 games ahead of the team. Oh no, they don't really.
They don't really go into it. I guess they have a
different, man. It's gonna be different in all sports genre. You know what I'm saying? But people are excited though. You know, as far as like some sports coming back. You know, I think boxing was like one of the first. UFC was actually one of the first that actually started to come back. And speaking of which, they have their own island, Fight Island, which is going to debut this Saturday. Which is going to be very interesting. I think Dana White did that was a great idea on their part to actually go to a actual island and actually have these events where they're all going to have people, but it's going to be separated. It's going to be spread out. But, we're seeing it, surely, whatever, slowly but surely. But I just think, man, it's not going to be the same, though. It's not going to be the same. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I watched a couple of boxing fights where there's nobody in the audience, man. It's just so weird to actually see that. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like it'd be, very interesting to see it when the NBA comes. How would that look like? You know what I'm saying? Just seeing them play just like a regular scrimmage game. You know what I'm saying? With no audience and none of that stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, living in the virtual world that we live in right now. I mean, that's basically we were forced to go on virtual mode because of COVID-19. If you think about it, like you said, there's no fans actually watching the actual event. So everybody's watching it remotely. Everybody's trying to stay safe. And I mean, we've seen this in movies before where they predicted this, where everything was going to be like a virtual situation. And we're living it right now. So COVID-19, this whole pandemic thing, hopefully you might be able to go back to being normal, but I don't think so. I think it's gonna be like a new way of life because
I don't think so.
virus is here to stay, and we're just gonna have to live like this for for the rest of our time. Unfortunately, where we have to be more cautious and be more aware of our health. You know.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, though, but then again, it definitely puts people in a very tight position because people, this is how they earn a living. But I mean, it's crazy though, man. It's crazy. But quick too though. Let's
we'll figure it out, though, John. So I'm confident we'll figure it out. Humanity has a way of figuring things out, and like we got this. Man. I think we got this. It's just a matter of readjustment. Is readjustment is a readjustment period, and people just gonna have to deal with the unfortunate consequences of our own situation because we cause all of this to a certain extent. Not us as a society, but our government leaders caused this because not being prepared and just like thinking that things weren't going to happen, and they happened. So we just got to deal with this thing, or maybe they do, or maybe they did it on purpose. We don't know. A lot of conspiracy theories out there. But the real fact is that we're living through it right now, and we just have to readjust and do what we got to do to stay alive, man. Because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, I couldn't, disagree with you on that. It's definitely going to be an adjustment. But speaking of which, I mean, again, though, it's definitely changed the lives of many. People are very concerned about, how they're going to basically, cover the cost of living because, again, people are still unemployed. You know what I'm saying? There's no telling if things going to reopen. So it puts people in a very tight position, though. This is why, pushing for the second stimulus package, people are just curious to know what's going to happen with that. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, it's a very unfortunate situation for many Americans who, are really going through it, man. So we'll see how it plans out. Hopefully we're able to overcome this, but it should be a rude awakening as far as, like, really assessing life, man, and start thinking about things that could be done differently. Where when something like this happens, we got to be more prepared because, again, though, regardless if it was planned or it wasn't planned, I just feel that so many people have been suffering because of this. You know what I'm saying? It's very unfortunate. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. So, I mean, going back to the sports thing, so MLB's back, NBA's back. What's going on with the NFL? Is that going to be
the NFL is working on their release of, they're preparing their release plan, just like the NBA did and the MLB. And, their season starts a little bit later. Their season usually starts in August, like preseason, and then it starts from there, right?
Oh, okay.
So they're preparing their stuff, and I'm sure they're going to release, a public statement saying how they're going to practice their situation with dealing with COVID-19.
Definitely. Actually, about that, what's the quarterback's name from the KFC Chiefs? He did a $400 million contract. He extended his contract with them.
It's a lot of money.
$400 million, bro. That is crazy. The biggest contract.
Wondering if we had a guarantee on that extension because the NFL is not really good on guaranteeing contracts unless you're like a big superstar. Like if you're a quarterback or a big wide receiver or a big linebacker or a big running back, you don't really get a guaranteed contract. Most NFL players get paid per game. Like, if you don't play that day, you don't get paid. You know what I mean? So, and that was kind of baffled me in that situation right there, John Tawar, because in a sport where you're risking your body like real bad, because I don't care what nobody says, football is the most it's a contact sport, so you risk your body more than any other sport. So you should have some type of guarantee, whether if you get sick or get injured.
Yeah.
Because there's been players who have been like injured to the point where they become vegetables, bro. Where they can't.
That's right. No, and I totally agree, though. I mean, first of all, you're putting yourself in a very dangerous position because, like you just said, it's a contact sport. And secondly, more importantly, like, what I'm saying, you made it to the pros. So you should actually be compensated to get something guaranteed. You know what I'm saying? Where, come on, you're telling me you're only paying me by playing the game? To me, I don't really feel that's fair. And, that has to change, though, because, again, it's a very dangerous sport. Who knows? That could be your last, not only your last game, but it could be your last day. You know what I'm saying? As far as, like, living, because, anything can happen in that football field. So, yeah, man, that's crazy, though, man. They got to change that. That's
I think
crazy.
that I think the NFL should like sit down with like the Major League Baseball Players Association. Them guys know what they're doing. That's like the strongest union, bro, in all sports. One of the
And the
strongest unions
NFL
in
generates
the
more money
world.
than any of the sports. So they
Yeah,
make a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? So
they
they have,
protect their players real good. So the NFL Players
yeah,
Association should get down and try to like see how they finagle their situation because the MLB does a real good job protecting their players. But yeah, current news. We got into sports. Now we're gonna talk a little bit about all these firecrackers going off. Hopefully,
well,
after the 4th of July, there's no more firecrackers. Man, it's been 3 months of straight boom boom. Last week, somebody threw a firecracker inside my living room while I was
right,
doing the
right,
podcast.
right. While we were live. Yeah, yeah. That's crazy, man. That's crazy, bro. But
Over the weekend,
yeah,
this person that I don't know personally, but a friend of mine knows, firecracker went into her living room and burned down her whole apartment.
damn.
So I mean, people out there having fun, celebrating is all good, but damn, man, safety measures haven't really been taken into consideration. His lady lost her whole apartment.
Man, and that's a scary thing, man. That's a very scary thing. And this is why for the first time I did not go outside. This 4th of July weekend, I actually stayed indoors. You know what I'm saying? I had a group of people we came here, we had like a game night, but you know, it was no barbecue, none of that stuff that usually, we will do. And a lot of stunts was because of what's going on. I mean, you set the fireworks that actually started way before the 4th of July. You know, usually, we see the fireworks on the day of the 4th of July, but they started very early. So like again though, man, it's definitely changed, and in many ways, for me at least, say the way I usually, I won't, honestly, I don't celebrate honestly, and we could definitely, jump into that because the 4th of July, man, I don't longer really celebrate the 4th of July because it's not our day. And when I say it's not our day, I'm talking about my ancestors. You know what I'm saying? Where when you talk about who's really celebrating the independence, is it people that look like you and me or people that come from a European ancestry? You know what I'm saying? The colonists, which, they were able to gain their independence from Great Britain. But I mean, how was your 4th of July though, before we even get to that? What you did?
4th of July was pretty good, man. I ain't gonna complain about it. Seeing a lot of fireworks going on. Even though the traditional public fireworks events were canceled.
Yeah.
Because of safety reasons, which we know that. But for the most part, man, just I bought this portable grill, took it out, put some some gas tanks on it, and threw some burgers on there, man. Turkey burgers, regular burgers. Try to do healthy stuff, and it was a great time, man. And
Okay.
just enjoy the best out of it, even though the circumstances are a little bit difficult, but. We definitely had a good time, man, and like I'm real big on that whole thing too, John Tavares. Like I understand history. I know the real history behind things, and the 4th of July is it's not it's a joke to me, like the whole Independence Day thing, because it was built on basically the pursuit of happiness for all. And but slavery still existed at the time. So I'm like, really? How is anybody supposed to pursue happiness when you have a group of people enslaved?
Right.
It basically was beneficial to a particular group of people of European descent, white people, Caucasians, Karens and non-Karens.
Right.
And even on top of that, man, even after slavery was abolished, man, segregation was a big thing, and segregation laws to the point where the federal housing policy, once the suburban homes came available, redlining came out, where black people could even buy houses, even if they could afford it, they couldn't buy houses or in certain neighborhoods they couldn't get them. And it's like it's just insane, man. It's insane how this country was built on the complete opposite of what they preach. So the 4th of July to me is a big fucking joke. I do believe in equality and liberty.
Yeah.
I know that the founding forefathers, I mean, they probably had a good vision, but everybody else did it, and then it's just sad, man, that we live in such a hypocrisy of
It
a
is a hypocrisy.
so it's my take
about it. It's not really part of the school curriculum, to be honest with you. Because first of all, the way I was taught is, it's a celebration of, America's independence. But when you really think about it, as you were saying, it's really not about your independence. It's about the people, the oppressors, independence that, they were able to, again, become independent from Great Britain. And, it's 4th of July, which is, July 4th, 1776, where they signed the Declaration of Independence. It was still slaves, you know what I mean? People was like, the South especially, and even the North, where you had this, the quote unquote free blacks, but they were still going to the institutional racism in the North as well. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, like, again, like, it is a joke. And the sad thing about this, me and as an adult, I learned about Juneteenth. Like, Juneteenth wasn't even taught to me while I was in school. Like, I learned about Juneteenth as far as like the last slaves were informed that, slavery has been abolished in Texas. Like, I learned as an adult. So it just shows, like, I mean, it's built in, it's designed in where they don't want to really teach, especially us people that, come from that background, the true history about what happened in this country, because it's mind-boggling, man. Like, I learned about this as an adult, Juneteenth, man. And that should be the real celebration of independence, but, it's nowhere near how it's celebrated with the 4th of July. Like, there's no major cookouts in Juneteenth. There's no fireworks, you know what I'm saying? So it's like something that, I mean, it's very unfortunate though, but, hopefully, man, people will start really, looking into their true history and really start taking more acknowledgement of that, opposed to, celebrating something that is really not our true independence, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, again, though, like, 4th of July, you usually, like we just said, it's a time like, you get together, you have your barbecue, you have people that, you come, you guys have a great time, make it a very, enjoyable, memorable moment. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, I know the true history, you know what I mean?
And get a little bit of a few arriba moments if you can in the process.
Oh, man.
Listen, for our viewers out there and our listeners, we're going to try to explain this the best way possible for our audio listeners, right? Because we have a lot of listeners that hear through podcast platforms versus the YouTube viewers, that they can see all the information we're sharing on Zoom. So we're going to try to explain this a little bit better, but I want to pull up a few facts of July the 4th or the 4th of July, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter to me. It's all
you have the prior knowledge, you know what I'm saying?
let's pull this up here.
Independence Day, probably in the world, is the 4th of July.
So this is from mentalfloss.com. They are a very credible source of information here. I use them all the time. 10 things you don't know about the 4th of July. Go that to that. Number 1. Oh, man. This is so funny to me. So the Declaration of Independence wasn't signed on July 4th. That's one of the first facts. It wasn't. So all this 4th of July shit, people celebrating independence, guess what? The Declaration of Independence was not signed on the 4th of July. So for all those that don't know that, which is funny because if you stop most American citizens, particularly white people, you stop them in the middle of the streets, especially the millennials, these gnarly, awesome white guys, whatever, or white girls, whatever you want to call them, or just in general, man. Like a lot of people, you stop them, and they don't know specific dates of their own history, of their own country, right? So let's go into get into that.
I want to see the second fact about this.
Yeah. So the Declaration of Independence wasn't signed on the 4th of July. That's just the day that the document was formally dated, finalized and adopted by the Continental Congress, which had officially voted for independence on July 2nd, the day that John Adams thought we should celebrate. John Hancock, which is the signature you see on the document, right? And Charles Thompson signed early printed copies of the Declaration to be given to the military officers and various political committees, but the bulk of the other 54 men signed an official engrossed copy on August 2nd. following a later date, right? So there you go. So the Declaration of Independence was not signed 100% until the 2nd of August.
Hmm.
What do you think about that, John Tavares?
Well, I think it's
mind-blowing, huh?
with how it's taught you history. So, I mean, all this time, people were taught that, 4th of July was the day where they signed the Declaration of Independence. And again, it was like our independence. But, as you could just stated right now, the fact that it wasn't signed on the 4th of July, it was the first draft that was first adopted. And then, finally at August, the 2nd of August, it was finalized and, signed into, the Declaration of Independence. But it shows you, man, where, who controls the information, controls the perception of things, And, starting with schools, yeah. Again, like I learned all this as an adult. I had to really, educate myself about a lot of things that wasn't taught to me growing up. And that's why I take my career very seriously as far as, teaching the true history about what it is, So what's the second factor? Let's run down the facts.
Let's run on to the second fact here. And yeah, man, I'm totally in agreement with you, Don Tavares. Our history has been altered, and there's a group of people that actually run our books, like whatever is taught in the classrooms.
Yes.
It's a mandated curriculum.
Yep.
By every school, and unfortunately, the Macmillans of the world and the J.P. Morgans run that.
And I mean, as the saying goes, the history is written by the winners. These textbooks.
All right. So the second fact, the first 4th of July celebrations were much different than today's. The colonies let loose upon hearing the words of Declaration of the Independence in 1776. Military personnel and civilians in the Bowling Green section of Manhattan tore down a statue of King George III and later melted it into bullets. That's crazy, right? Philadelphia patriots used the King's coat of arms as kindling for a bonfire, and in Savannah, Georgia, the citizens burnt the king in effigy and held a mock funeral for the royal foe, right? So that's basically that day the first celebration was done, right? Let's just go down a little bit more here. Sorry for our viewers there that this stuff is not scrolling down as good as possible.
So that's the second fact.
So so including that describes so the days of celebration began to look more familiar the following year, but as of the July 18th, the 1777 issue describes the July 4th celebration in Philadelphia. So that's really what the 4th of July celebration is about. The throwing down of the statue in Philadelphia. It wasn't really the day it wasn't really the Declaration of Independence that day. It was mostly like the whole aftermath of how the soldiers felt when they threw down the statue. So that's why the Declaration of Independence is not really on the 4th of July. It's just the soldiers involved actually tore down a lot of shit and then they celebrated. So that's why 4th of July became a day of celebration.
It reminds me what's going on right now in modern day society. Of a lot of pulling down a lot of statues are happening right now because of the history with the Confederate flag. And, these people that, we have as statues, but these were people that were slave owners, people that were for the oppression. So it kind of like goes with what's going on right now today.
Yeah. And like I said, basically what that second factor is stating is that the 4th of July celebrations are not the Declaration of Independence. So the 4th of July does not mean the Declaration of Independence, as we explained with the first fact. The second fact tells you why. It was just the soldiers celebrating the knocking down of the statue and basically like knocking down statues and like melting shit down and fucking up whatever England left here as their form of power, right?
Anything that has any connection with Great Britain. So the third one is
them like acting like a whole like basically their barbaric acts after the fact. That's what the 4th of July is, celebration of that, and it became tradition. So the third fact is eating salmon on the 4th of July is a tradition only in New England, which I had no idea salmon is eating on the 4th of July. I was eating burgers. I don't know about you.
Oh, man.
Burgers and hot dogs, buddy. Yeah, so that's another one to see what that breaks down to. The tradition of eating salmon on the 4th of July essentially began in New England as a coincidence. During the middle of the summer, salmon was abundant in the rivers throughout the region, so it was common sight on tables at the time. The dish eventually got lumped into the 4th and was stayed that way ever since, even with the decline of the Atlantic salmon. Yeah,
That makes sense because New England is mostly like rivers, you know,
yeah.
like a swampy place. So,
There you go. So there we go. So the fourth fact, Massachusetts was the first state to recognize the 4th of July. Oh, boy, I had no idea. Massachusetts recognized the 4th of July as an official holiday on July 3rd, 1781. So look, the July 3rd, they recognized it, making it the first state to do so. Congress hadn't even begun designating federal holidays until June 28, 1870, which is a great fact. Wow.
almost 100 years later, it started.
Really, almost 100 years later, right? With the first four being New Year's Day, Independence Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas. This decreed that those days were holidays for federal employees. So officially, the 4th of July was not even an official holiday. You know what I mean? For the rest of the country, like federally, right? But Massachusetts made it an official holiday on July 3rd, 1781. So they were already celebrating fucking almost 100 years before it was even made into how many years is that? That's like about 89 years before.
Yes,
From
about
1781 to 1871. What was that?
Yes, like 90
years.
26 years.
89 years, I believe, right? Correct? If my math is right.
Well, 1776 is when they, got their independence.
But when they first started celebrating and was in.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
So Massachusetts was the first state to recognize it as a holiday.
Right.
But the rest of the country, federally, did not recognize it until 1870. So literally, 89 years later,
right,
that it was declared.
That's crazy.
To be one of the first federal holidays, along with New Year's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas.
Look at that. Very interesting fact right there. So what's the next?
It says the 4th of July within the District of Columbia. So it took years of new legislation to expand the holiday to all federal employees. So it was mostly to make it more a federal thing. It wasn't until 1870. So that's another great fact of the 4th of July. So let's go down here. The oldest annual 4th of July celebration is held in Bristol, Rhode Island. Okay, so that's another one. So we have many facts here. 85 years before the government recognized the 4th of July as a federal holiday. So it was 85 years, right? One tradition began that continues to this day, billed as America's oldest 4th of July celebration. The town of Bristol, Rhode Island, has been doing Independence Day right since 1785.
Wow.
So, so the festivities began 2 years after the Revolutionary War, and today in 2020, it's their 235th anniversary of the celebrations in Rhode Island, Bristol. So that's another one.
Now, this is what I want to get at.
The shortest 4th of July parade is in Aptos. How you pronounce that? Aptos, right? Am I saying it right? Aptos, California. The 4th of July parade in Aptos, California is just a hair over a half a mile long, taking up 2 city blocks and measuring just 0.6 miles. This brief bit of patriotism features antique cars, decorated trucks, and plenty of walkers. Afterwards, there's a party in the park where folks can enjoy live music, food, and games. So in that part of California, they said, yo, fuck it, let's just do it a little bit and get it over with, right? So that's the shortest 4th of July parade. It's in California, in Aptos, which they don't really give a fuck about Independence Day. They just, whatever, let's get it on. Probably a whole bunch of hippies living there. Just want to smoke weed and just get high.
It's probably like a small town anyway.
I know, right? Yeah, so that's part of the reason why.
Yeah, scroll down to this one. This is very interesting about the fireworks.
So there are around 15,000 Independence Day fireworks celebrations every year. Unfortunately, this year, due to the pandemic, most 4th of July, well, all 4th of July public large public events were shut down, like the Macy's fireworks.
Right.
That's probably one of the biggest ones in the country.
It is.
According to 2017 American Pyrotechnics Association projection, around 15,000 fireworks displays occur for the 4th of July holiday, even if some aren't exactly on July 4th. The pricing varies. Most small towns spend anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 for a fireworks display, with largest cities going into millions.
Oh yeah.
Boston Pop Fireworks Spectacular, the average is more than $2 million.
Oh, how much they spend?
Shit on fireworks. That's a lot.
Man. Shows you, man. We got the money, man. There's a lot of money.
Yo, they waste a lot of money on bullshit. Why is that $2 million going into fireworks? Why isn't that going into low income families that they need stuff? You know? That the real families that we should be looking after. You know, because America is about looking after other people, right? And there you go. They're wasting $2 million just in Boston alone.
One day.
Fireworks, right? That's fucking insane.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's very unfortunate, but man, this country is so backwards, man.
Mind you, John Tavares celebrating something that wasn't even done on that day. So they're celebrating Independence Day, and that's not really the day that we declared independence.
Yeah, and as they say, there's a lot of holidays that we celebrate. It's not even like the actual day that actually occurred. As right now, we just learned about the 4th of July, Thanksgiving too. Thanksgiving didn't happen, you know, on November, because the thing about Thanksgiving is every last Thursdays of November, but that's not a particular day that it actually happened, you know. So there's a lot of holidays now that I'm thinking about it that's not actually celebrated on the day that it actually happened. Wow,
that's insane, right? All right, so let's move on to the next one. We got 2 more to go, and we're just trying to like break it down to our listeners on the podcast platforms. They're not getting the advantage that the rest of the viewers on YouTube are, which they can actually see the actual article in front of them. But we want to keep our listeners on the podcast platforms, you know, up to date, right? Americans eat an obscene amount of hot dogs on the 4th of July. I will say this. I would say I'm guilty as charged. I had like 10 hot dogs that day, man. I don't know.
Man.
My hot dogs were organic. They were made out of, you know, plant-fed turkey hot dog. That's what I was having. I wasn't having none of that beef stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's no surprise though. Like hot dogs. I mean, I would have thought it would have been burgers, but yeah, hot dogs make sense too.
How about vegan hot dogs? You know, what do you have any vegan hot dogs that day, John Tavares?
I mean, you know, I actually had some plant-based burgers, man, like the Beyond Meat.
There you go.
Tastes pretty good though. Tastes pretty good, but the irony is that you really don't. You get the same amount of calories of eating a regular beef burger.
Yeah, it's just a little bit more. It has a little bit more protein and stuff like that. It doesn't have. We should do an episode on that because I was reading an article on how the Beyond Meat thing, especially if you buy it processed from the supermarket, even if it's frozen, it's still not good for you. The best way to have a burger, whether you're having a non-meat or vegan, is to actually make it yourself. So, for instance, in your case, you're a vegan. Because you're a vegan, grabbing a whole bunch of black beans and mushrooms and an organic egg and blending it together and making a mush out of it, and basically throwing some batter on it and some breadcrumbs and just making that burger on the pan. That's probably the best way to do it.
I think anything that's processed is bad for you.
Yeah.
Any processed food is bad. So yeah.
Yeah, so let's get into that fact that Americans eat an obscene amount of hot dogs on the 4th of July. Americans consume about 150 million hot dogs while celebrating Independence Day. According to the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, pause that 100%. That amount of dogs can stretch. How you know dogs can stretch? The amount of dogs can stretch from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles more than 5 times.
Look at that.
So if you was to grab a hot dog and line them up all the way It can stretch from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles. That's how many hot dogs Americans consume on the 4th of July. No wonder we're the highest. We're the country with the highest obesity rate in the world. And
anybody who want meat always says, man, why y'all eat so much? Like anybody outside the country, it's the first thing they always ask me when it comes down to food. Like, why do y'all eat so much?
This is a statistic that I'm gonna pull up. Restaurants in the United States throw away 60% of their food on a daily basis. 60%.
I know that, like, so it went up then.
It went up, yeah. Luckily, that nowadays we have a few organizations that come and pick up foods from these restaurants, and they take them to shelters and stuff like that. But it's not a whole bunch of them that do that. So it's probably still 40% going to waste.
Yeah, no, I used to work in a restaurant, man, and I tell you, man, the amount of food that we used to throw away, it was just so crazy, man. Because I remember I used to take like bags of food because there was no way I was gonna allow them to just throw so many food away.
Yeah.
It's just so mind-boggling though, where
if I owned a restaurant, John Tavares, I kid you not, I would have a staff to work after hours just to stand, have a line to at least the back alley of the fucking restaurant, to the front of the restaurant for homeless people just to come pick that shit up, bro. I would pay a staff just to do that from midnight to 6 in the morning. Come pick up free food at Nelly's restaurant from midnight to 6 a.m. every day.
That's right, though, man. Cause come on, man, it's crazy, man. Don't that amount of food every day.
And most restaurants don't even sign up. Most restaurants don't even sign up to these city organizations and private organizations that actually can pick up that food. A lot of restaurant owners don't give a shit. They don't even sign up. It's a free service. They come. They come and they set it up for you. They tell you what to leave at, and they put their refrigerated bins outside of your restaurant or in an area where they have access to it, and they come pick it up for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does it cost you as a restaurant owner or a restaurant franchise to have a free organization come pick up food that you're gonna throw away to give out to other people in need?
I think some restaurants would rather throw their food away to give it away.
Yeah, which is idiotic. It's idiotic because if they were paying for that service, I get it. You don't want to, some restaurant owners struggle a lot, so they don't want to pay. But the reason probably why you're struggling is because you're a grimy ass motherfucker. You should be giving up that food to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like these organizations will set up a perfect, ideal situation for the restaurant owner not to have to even do much to have that food picked up every night.
Mm-hmm.
And Whoopi Goldberg owns the Meals on Wheels. She's like part owner, I think, or majority owner. I'm not sure. She has it. It's a free organization. All you have to do is call her company. They set it up, and they pick up the food.
So it's common sense, though, man. Like, I mean, just to, that's a food that you're gonna apparently throw away. Why not give it away? You rather just throw it away because you don't want people to eat. You know what I'm saying? Because you rather just throw it away and put it to waste.
Yo, shout out to our Instagram followers there. I see a lot of people tuning in. Shout out to Big John there. Nit. Anyway.
He live? Okay.
He's live there, man. He's watching us.
Okay.
So that fact number 8, Americans eat an obscene amount of hot dogs on the 4th of July. About 150 million hot dogs while celebrating Independence Day, which we all know is a complete lie. So much that it stretches from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles. In 2018, Joey Chestnut scarfed down 74 of those hot dogs. 74 of those fries, breaking his own world record.
It was the Asian dude who had the record, man. It was like a skinny Asian dude who used to beat everybody.
This was the guy that beat him in 2018.
Wow.
He's 74 of those francs. Out of 150 million francs, 74 of those he's responsible for. Breaking his own record. That year, he won the annual Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Competition for the 11th time.
And that Nathan makes a killing on that day.
He won again in 2019, noshing on 71 wieners. I didn't even know noshing was a word. I guess it means like yum, 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 yum.
That is crazy, man. The amount of money these hot dog companies make, too, on that particular day.
Yeah.
Man, 150
all right.
hot dogs.
So let's go down to number 9. Americans also spend billions on food to celebrate the 4th of July. Listen, again, I'm guilty of that. Dude, you know how much food I threw away that day? Because
Damn.
I cooked most of the stuff that we had, that everybody who came in, but we threw away a lot of food because, first of all, we had it on ice for a long time. We ran out of ice. And, some people took food home, like, to keep for the next day. But most of it, I had no idea what to do with it. And, I was in a designated area where I couldn't walk around and give it to people who were in need, right? I didn't have the means. So I apologize for that, that I did that. But I'm guilty as charged. I did that. I bought a whole bunch of, me and the people who I was with bought a whole bunch of food.
Well, you want to become, you want to be more safer than sorry. But yeah, most of the time it does happen like that. Like you have a surplus of food left over.
All right, so here we go. In 2019, the National Retail Federation predicted Americans would spend around $6.7 billion on tasty treats to celebrate the 4th of July. This included food and other cookout expenses, averaging about $73 per person participating in a barbecue, outdoor cookout, or picnic. So there's a difference between between those three things. A barbecue is when you're actually grilling something. A cookout is when you bring cooked food from home out, and a picnic is basically the same thing as a cookout. Then comes the booze. According to the Beer Institute, more beer is sold on and around the 4th of July holiday than during any other time throughout the year. Generally, Americans will spend around $1 billion on beer for their 4th celebrations.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And more than $560 million on wine. Shit.
Yeah.
Shit. On beer alone, $1 billion.
Especially with beer, though. Definitely, beer is like one of the biggest alcohol beverages that is bought or drank.
How many beers did you drink that day, John Tavares? Because I know you drank some beer.
Well, no, I'm lying. I had a few IPAs. My boy John B came through with some IPAs.
Nice. But those numbers are insane, man. People spend $6.7 billion on tasty treats.
It's just crazy, though, the amount of money they spend on one particular day, off of just trying to,
So the average person spends $73.
$73 per person, my God.
Mean, the average like most people do spend about that much on transportation, alcohol, food, because you got to know how you're going to get there, because transportation is limited. Sometimes you can't get to places that are off-site without having a car, paying gas, putting gas in your car, or grabbing a cab somewhere. It took me 45 minutes to have Lyft send me a cab where I was at, to trying to get to where the barbecue was at, right?
Right.
So it's just like a lot of people are not working that day, so the transportation is limited.
Very limited. Yeah, but that's still a lot of money, $73 per person.
Yeah.
Imagine,
people are out there wasting money on a celebration that is fake and phony. It's not even real. It's not like
it is. It's phony. You know what I mean? I get the whole celebration. As far as like bringing people together. You know what I mean? That's great to see. But just know, what are you truly celebrating? That's the big question. Which I learned later on in my life, where something that's not really my day.
Yeah. It's basically let's just call it what it is. It's a commercial holiday. It's just people out there, the commercial holiday. People just wasting money, and it's good for business. It's good for what I mean. That's basically what it is.
It's a consumption fest. I'm saying, like food, buying, decoration, all this other stuff, man. It's all about consuming, and it's again about people spending money. Yeah. And that's how holidays are, though. It's about people consuming. That's all it is. I mean, that's why it's so big for the economy when you have those days. Like you just spoke about 150 hot dogs.
150 million hot dogs.
150 million hot dogs. People spend over $1 billion in beers. Like, this is all about consuming, man. Same thing with other, like, Valentine's Day. I mean, forget about Christmas. That's a whole different level. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about business, man, when it comes to these holidays, man. It's not really about celebrating. It's about really, consuming.
Yeah, look, to talk about this, right after Christmas, as soon as New Year, right after New Year's Day, there's already Valentine's decorations and Valentine sales going on.
Oh, yeah, they start that early.
2 months prior to the day. So,
and people take it to the heart, too, with these holidays, man. Like, I mean, people take it to the heart. Like, they go all out for these holidays. Especially when you think about Christmas, when you don't buy someone a gift. You know what I'm saying? Or,
you don't love me anymore, John.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Like, even if you do buy them a gift, It all depends on the status of the gift, how much it was, how much it's cost. You know what I'm saying? Where that should define how much you really care about somebody by how much it costs the gift.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just it damages human culture though, man. It definitely damages human culture. Valentine's Day, forget about it. That's even like.
Have you seen that video that went viral a couple of years ago? There's like rich suburban family, right? The dad buys his daughter, who's just turned 18. He buys her RX 300, which is a Lexus RX 300, which is a state of the art luxury SUV. And he's recording. He's like, "Honey, come outside. I want you to see something." He's recording his daughter. She comes out and she starts crying because he got her the wrong color. He's like, "Daddy, that was the wrong color. I hate you."
The spoiled, oh man, I don't know.
He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." She's like, "No, I fucking hate you. I wish I was never born." Blah blah blah. Like,
yo, man, you know what? To me, it's sad. I mean, it's funny at the same time, but it's sad too, though. When you see things like that, that's just crazy, man. It is ridiculous, man. I mean, holidays, though, definitely, man, it's damaging a lot of the human cultures and how we, perceive ourselves and how we judge ourselves. And it does definitely more damage than good. You know what I'm saying? When you have these holidays.
Yeah, man. This guy dropped $50,000 cash in that car.
50 grand.
And she's worried about the fucking color, bro.
Oh my God, man.
Telling you, man. See, that's the definition of a true ingrate. An ingrate is somebody who doesn't appreciate shit.
Definitely. That's very true.
Yeah, and that's the reason why, listen, man, you gotta raise your kids, man, to earn things, not just giving it. Just don't just give it to them. They have to earn it, in the sense, because they have to learn that things in life are just not given. They are earned through good behavior, through good grades, doing something that makes me proud of you being my kid. I mean, you're gonna be proud of your kids regardless because they're your kids and you love them. But you have to teach them some type of standard, some principles in life, man. Look at this girl, man. She went viral, and because the video was so funny, people were like, "Yo, this shit is retarded." How this girl who's privileged, who has everything in the world, and shouldn't be complaining about anything. Her dad gives her a car out of the kindness of his heart, and she's complaining about the color. You got to be kidding me.
It shows you how spoiled she is. You know what I'm saying? So even process that as far as like you are disappointed by the color, it just shows you how spoiled that person is, though, and what that person's always been given.
Yeah, well, she could have spoken to him off camera. Yeah, "Hey, Dad, listen, I love it, but I really want the red one. I didn't want the white one."
Man, look at that. But it's really, again, though, expectations, though, right? We had the episode where, it's expected and being appreciated. And that's how it is, unfortunately, for many.
Fucking hate you, Daddy.
Oh,
I wish I was never born. I don't want to be a Smith anymore. I'm going to disown you and change my last name.
Yo,
I'm going to live on my own.
About that. As funny as it sounds, it's true, though, It's how sometimes they are, man. It's crazy, man.
Crazy, man. Like they go off and then they join these cults and they become hippies and then they fucking some shit happens to them and their families like throwing a ransom out there trying to find them. Oh, they were kidnapped.
Yeah.
Oh, la, 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 la. Fuck
man.
out, man. I'm telling you, man. All right, the 10th and last fact.
This one I actually knew about it already.
So 3 presidents have died and one was born on the 4th of July. You probably know that both Thomas Jefferson and John Adams died on July 4th, 1826, 50 years to the day after the Declaration of Independence was adopted. So remember, the Declaration of Independence was adopted on the 4th, but it wasn't actually, the Declaration of Independence did not happen on the 4th of July. It happened on the 2nd of July. And yeah, they're not the only presidents who have died on the 4th, though James Monroe, the nation's 5th president, died just a few years later on July 4th, 1831. Throughout the holiday might seem like it was, it has it out for foreign presidents. There was one future leader born on Independence Day, the country's 30th Commander-in-Chief, Calvin Coolidge, was born on July 4th, 1872. So that's a fact about that.
Yeah, that one I knew already about those three presidents that died on the 4th of July. I think Thomas Jefferson was born on the 4th of July, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was the one that was born on 4th of July and died July 4th. And, you know, the irony of it, he's the one that was responsible for writing the Declaration of Independence. And, you know, dying on that day, too, you know, it's kind of like a little bit spooky.
I know, right?
A little spooky right there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But those are facts, though. Okay, so we run down the 10 facts of 4th of July.
And
you know,
whoever wants to like go through them, you just visit mentalfloss.com. It's a very credible it's a very credible source of information. It's not very mainstream. It's just like, you know, they have retired journalists who are against the grain from media that actually post stuff up. It's a real good place to find information that's actual factual from real journalists that actually went against the system. So there you have it. So we're going to stop sharing that information now, and we'll go back to our regular scheduled program. Hey, John, how are you, buddy?
I mean, but one thing I want to definitely say, I mean, always, you know, look at different sources. You know what I'm saying? Always keep it where, you know, you look at different sources and always, you know, just, you know, draw up your own conclusion of what you learn from those things. One thing I definitely want to point out, too, about the 4th of July that I've learned as an adult was the famous Frederick Douglass speech, which basically made me learn more about This Is Not Our Day, which was entitled, What to the Slaves is the 4th of July? You know, and I remember, like, I read this speech about, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago. That's when I learned about it. You know, again, it wasn't taught to me. Which he was, you know, he was invited to speak at, I think it was Rochester, New York. And he basically talks about the hypocrisy of America, you know, how people celebrate the joy of America getting their independence from Great Britain, but it meant very little to the slaves who were still enslaved. You know what I'm saying? You know, and he also criticized the people in the North that, you know, the black people that were, you know, quote unquote free, but they were still going through, you know, the racism, and even criticized the church. And this is crazy about the church, right? Because you would think to be the first one to be like in the front line to abolish slavery, but they didn't really do anything, you know, and he was very outspoken about that. You know what I'm saying? So people definitely, I mean, if you guys haven't really read the speech about Frederick Douglass, What to the Slaves is the 4th of July, please, I think that's a very informative speech. He definitely goes in deep about, you know, why this is not our independence. And, you know, pretty much says like it's a joke, you know, in other words, like it's a joke. So, you know, definitely that's something that really, you know what I'm saying, like for those who get the time to really please read that speech. Very informative speech, man. Definitely changed my whole perspective, the way I look at the 4th of July. And this is why, again, I don't really celebrate it. Juneteenth is what I really acknowledge more now that I really educated myself about the true history that was not taught to me as a kid. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I stayed indoors too. But that's I mean, you actually said you went out. I was really kind of like concerned because what's been going on lately with the shootings, man. It's a lot of shootings have been going on, especially here in New York, you know, which kind of made me feel where I had to like stay indoors though, because I mean, they started with the fireworks way before the 4th of July, where I mean, I had to play it safe though, man. That's why for the first time I stayed indoors. I wasn't really, you know, doing the whole, you know, cookout, barbecue thing, whatever. I stayed my ass home, man. You know, that was pretty much it, though. But it's crazy, though, man, because honestly, as we spoke about this earlier in the podcast about, you know, it's going to be an adjustment. It is going to be an adjustment. And one thing I'll definitely say when it came, you know what I'm saying, when things are now slowly reopening, I was very concerned something that's going to happen. And I think it's going to be a huge behavioral shift of people behaviors. And this is why, to me, it's really no surprise, unfortunately, to see all these mass shootings now that's occurring right now in New York City, Chicago. It's ridiculous, man. I think
an increase.
man, I think it was 127%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Shootings compared to last year's shootings. Yeah. I think it's about 540 shootings so far in New York City. And mind you, we had the lowest crime rate during quarantine. So now that things are slowly reopening, man, I mean, it's getting crazy out now, you know what I'm saying? Especially in the summertime when, you know what I'm saying, it's a warm climate, you know what I mean? More people going out. And yeah, man, it gets crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? This quarantine thing definitely changed the way we live. I mean, mind you, man, we've been so used to first of all, we can't stay at a particular place for a certain amount of time. You always have to wear a face mask entering something. Even to get to a store, you have to wait literally sometimes an hour just to get inside a store because again, we have to practice the social distancing and all that can have an effect though, man. People are getting tired of it and you know what I'm saying, you know, and feeling as if they're detained at home, they're not supposed to go out. Like all that mess, it could mess you up. And unfortunately, that's why I'm saying I'm not surprised about the shift of human behavior now, how people are acting right now outside though, man. You know,
Unfortunately, people get frustrated, you know, when lifestyles have to change, you know.
Yeah.
Lifestyles have to change, you know, and adjust to different things. So that kind of causes people to get frustrated and result to, violence, crime, and behavior is not the usual. One thing that I did notice with the reopening process, which I'm kind of happy for small businesses, is the following. The reopening of certain restaurants, they've been given the permission in New York City, primarily that I know of by firsthand, to actually have an outside portion of their restaurant so people can sit down and eat. I actually went to a restaurant that a friend of mine owns close by.
Okay.
Pretty cool. It was a pretty cool ambiance. You know, he had his tables spread out evenly. It was a pretty nice thing. He had like a nice canopy over it, just in case it rained. And
nice.
Practicing social distancing, and he was happy. You know, he was happy. He was happy that he was finally getting revenue off of his business because he was paying his storefront rent. He was paying the whole 3 months, and he wasn't really making any money. So,
yeah, it's good to know that, you know, now that, you know, they're allowing these restaurants to open, have like these outdoors seatings. Definitely, because again, I don't know how they was making their living. I don't know if that person got unemployment, you know, when it comes to like, you know, employees that work in restaurants. So it's good to at least see that they're able to, you know, get back to work. And we'll see. I mean, slowly things are going to start reopening. I was kind of upset. I was trying to get my hair cut. My barbershop finally opened. But my God, it was about 6 people ahead of me. I couldn't get my cut, man. So I'll try next week though. But you know,
should have hollered at me, man. I have should have hollered at me. I got a barber. I had a barber during quarantine. You see me a couple
yeah, you know what? I'm such a picky person, man. As far as like, you know, who I really, you know, allow to cut my hair.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You want a fancy haircut like this, John Torre, you got to come see the right guy. You got to come see the right guy, buddy. You got
90 now.
Yeah, you remember last week we was talking about links and stuff and how symbols mean certain things? You know, I'm in the symbols algorithm there trying to figure.
I'm gonna do that to you though, because
my barber's pretty good, man. He's fast, good and efficient. He doesn't talk too much. He just
I like that.
He's not your traditional Dominican barber who's talking a lot of shit while he's taking a haircut.
I have to pause like every 5 seconds.
Yeah,
like, yo, come
barbers like that. Yeah, he's on the phone. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, no, you know, I had a good time last night. He's like,
I ain't gonna go to eat, body. You sitting there still waiting for him, like, yo.
Yeah, man. Like, I had a barber like that. He literally, first of all, he was always, if you had an appointment with him at 10 o'clock in the morning, you weren't seeing him until 11. Then once you sat down, you weren't getting up until like 12:30. So an hour of waiting, an hour and a half of a haircut, 2 hours and a half of your life wasted in a barber shop. Which is cool, you know, because you get to interact with other people, and that's kind of for men. For men, when you go to get when you go to a grooming service, right? It's that time for you to vent and kind of like, you know, be at your, make yourself feel good about yourself and interact with other people. Because a lot of people, you know, a lot of men in our society are either married or they're in a relationship where they can't really like associate with their friends, whatever. And then that's the day that they vent. They go to the barbershop, have a couple of beers.
Yeah, definitely. That's where it comes from, barbershop.
And a lot of barbershops have been called therapy areas too, because a lot of people go there to talk about their lives with their barbers, right?
That's true.
Another reason. But I'm definitely a victim of a talkative barber. And my barber now, he's real punctual, and he's great at his craft, and he's very fast and efficient. and he doesn't cost that much either, which is great. So he has 3 good qualities in him. He's fast, efficient, and he's not that expensive. And he knows how to do great designs. And to tell you the truth, it's only took like half an hour. It's only took half an hour, as opposed to another barber who would have took maybe an hour and a half to do all of this plus talk all his shit. You know? John Tavares still there? Buddy? John Tavares froze us. There you go. He's back. You frozen us for a little bit there. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what happened. But I was saying, though, I know a few of my friends, you know, see Christian, he actually started to learn how to cut his own hair.
That was horrible, man.
Yeah.
I seen them.
So many were actually forced to really, you know, cut their own hair.
I told him to his face, man, you did a horrible job, bro. He did a horrible job. Christian, you did a horrible job. He looked like a cholo from LA, bro. Like one of those Mexican gang dudes. He literally did like a cupcake haircut. He put like a hat on, like a bowl.
Cupcake, man.
Bowl, and he just cut through like that.
What was that, Dumb and Dumber, the movie where he actually did a haircut like that, put the bowl and cut it. Oh, man.
That's what Kristen had, a good friend of us. We saw him for his birthday. He celebrated his birthday in the park, and literally had a cereal bowl haircut. What they call that cakey? A cakey? That's what they call it.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, he had like a cholo version because he had like a little piece in the back. It was still long and shit. It was like weird.
Yeah.
It was like a fake
I
mohawk.
don't think it's that difficult to really, because I was looking at YouTube and it's not even that difficult to really cut your own hair, to be honest with you. If you know how to do it, just the basic. I'm talking about just a fade, you know. I'm talking about all the other stuff that, you know, design stuff, none of that stuff. Just a quick basic cut. And it's really
those YouTube tutorials, if you have like a mirror in front of you, they have 2 for the side and the back. So these two on the side can cover your left and right, and then your back. Then you can really do your shit. Because the hardest part is your back and behind the ear. Here, that's the hardest part. But So man, it's been a hard time for people who couldn't get haircut. But I had a barber who was doing this thing like, he had his barbershop is inside of a brownstone, so he didn't have to abide like to storefront guidelines. So I was going to him. He was charging a grip too. He was charging like $40 a haircut.
Oh yeah, a lot of bars making a killing though during this whole quarantine. You need to get their cut.
Yeah, considering the times, I usually pay $25 for a haircut plus a $5 tip. An extra $10 wasn't gonna hurt me. This guy was putting his life on the line for me, so you know what? Fuck it. I gave him the 40. You know, so it wasn't about and it wasn't about impressing anybody because I was mostly home, but it was about me feeling good. I hate having a lot of hair and scratching and shit like that. I don't like.
It's uncomfortable because you're not really used to it like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that it's finally opened some of the barbershops. So maybe by next week, hopefully by next week, meaning I should get my hair cut. But yeah, man, I mean, quarantine's definitely changed a lot of things, man. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't think things are going to be back to normal, the way we perceive as being normal. I think it's definitely going to be a change. We got to just take it as the best way we could take it. And, just learn that, I mean, everything is always change. Change is the only thing that's constant. So, always got to be, prepared for change. But yeah, man, I mean, listen, man, 4th of July, again, not my day. I'm glad that we actually had this episode. We was able to run down some facts about the 4th of July, and to really, let people know this is not really our independence. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's good that we see people celebrate. People have cookouts, barbecues. It's fine. I'm with people coming together, but just know that your true history of what you really actually celebrating. So definitely, man, I'm glad we
celebrating a lie, ladies and gentlemen, a pure lie. Let the power of Christ compel you.
Oh,
you're all part of the system. You're all demons.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, but I'm glad we had this discussion, man. I also feel the same way. There's a lot of stuff that we celebrate, a lot of stuff that we get forced to do because of a tradition that was implemented onto us.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty as charged. I was out there barbecuing as well. But I know the facts, I know the history, and I didn't, let myself get brainwashed. I didn't eat 150 wieners that day, pause. I only ate 10. Only ate 10, but yeah.
Oh, man.
You already know, man. So final thoughts, John Tavares?
Yeah, I mean, my final thought is very short and simple, though, man. You know, it's always something that I always said to myself. Again, like, I mean, you know, always keep an open mind to new information. And I'm so glad that I was able to really recognize this as an adult, unfortunately. But, you know, what counts is that you actually learned it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very glad that I was able to really, learn this about my history. And that's why with Juneteenth, I take it more serious, and that's like the day that I look at the independence when it comes to, like, people that came before me. So yeah, man. I mean, I keep it like that, man. Just always keep an open mind to new information, though, man. Because a lot of things, like Nutty Nell just said, it's been imposed on us because of education, the upbringing, and again, traditionally, like traditions. I'm saying traditions definitely damage a lot of things the way we perceive life. So just keep it open mind to new information, man. Always, man.
Yep.
What's your final thought?
So my final thought is like this, man. Like we have to always, see things for what they are, and not for what we've been told that they are. So for me, it's just learn your history, know why things happen, why things have happened, and know that you just celebrated the 4th of July on then supposedly Independence Day, and it was really done on July the 2nd. So just think about that. So just think about all the lies that have been fed to us, and that we continue to just be a slave of somebody else's agenda for us, and start making your own agenda. Start making your own traditions. Stop following traditions that don't mean anything. They're just a commercial way of making us waste money. $73 per person.
Look at that.
And probably 150 wieners per event. So, or francs, whatever you want to call them. But my final thought is, man, just to be a little bit more simplistic about it, in order for you to pursue your happiness, you have to understand the facts. And even if the system is not built for us to survive, we have to find the loopholes to ensure our survival. And that's just my final thought.
Yes.
On Terror Podcast. Yeah. GG. Shout out to Chris Fighter, man. He couldn't make it.
Yeah, Chris
He was out in the woods of Pennsylvania hunting down some wild boars.
Oh, yeah?
Bring some meat to the dinner at the round table next week. He's probably out there wrestling one right now as we speak.
Oh,
hanging by the horns. You motherfucker.
I can only imagine. I can really picture him doing that too, though. Yeah. That's why I'm laughing right now.
Just like grabbing the boar's head by his horn and just like stabbing it in the tummy with a little knife.
He takes his job very serious, though. Yeah, like he's
definitely a meat. But yeah, man. So Dinner at the Round Table Podcast, man, catch us every Monday live at 7:30 p.m. on YouTube Live, Instagram Live, Spreaker.com, and if you want to catch our episode later on, you can catch us on all podcast platforms. And you can visit our Instagram page, Dinner at the Round Table. And you can also subscribe to our channel in the right-hand lower corner. That little logo that says Dinner at the Round Table Podcast is like a little square like this. And it says Dinner at the Round Table Podcast. You can just press it, and then I'll make you a subscriber. Thanks. Oh, you know what? Thanks to the people who have subscribed. We have gone up 15 subscribers in the last 2 weeks, which is pretty good.
Yeah, listen, man, we're working though, man. We're working, like we said earlier, about being consistent. We definitely appreciate all of our listeners, our viewers, man, and what I'm saying, we're a growing platform. And again, man, this is Dinner at the Round Table Podcast, your source to knowledge, man. And I'm glad again that we're definitely talking about some real things that definitely inform a lot of people, and maybe people could definitely see a different perspective about certain things that they once saw it differently. So yeah, man.
Well, man, we're definitely gonna be your source to knowledge forever and ever.
Not just forever. That's why.
Even in the afterlife, you're gonna be your source to knowledge.
Oh man.
Yeah, man. So we're your source to knowledge. So we're always gonna be here, and we are an organic podcast that just gets subscribers of the will of people wanting to hear us. We're not there buying shit.
Let's make it sure like that, but we're not controlled by any, multi-corporations. Like they don't control a narrative. Like it's all us.
Yeah, it's all us.
Definitely appreciate all the support that we get.
Yeah, for sure. John Tavares, it's a pleasure seeing you again once a week through Zoom. I haven't
Yes,
seen
sir.
you in person for like over 2 weeks, but hopefully
Yeah.
I can see you soon, buddy. I miss you.
Oh man.
Oh man, so then at the Roundtable Podcast, man, we're going about to check out, and basically, we're gonna see y'all next week.
Hot boy. You know that fucking vibe, nigga. Bow. Sigo atrás de Ferry. Ey. Ey, yo ando atrás de Ferry. En el bloque en 30 con los Grady, mis menores trap y moviendo el copper y tu puta en 4 le llega hasta el belly en mis notas de 30. Le llegué que tú amas odiar, yo tengo la grama y cuarto pa' gastar. Tú debes la mafia te sale a cobrar, yo ando atrás de Ferry. En el bloque en 30 con los Grady, mis menores trap y moviendo el copper y tu puta en 4 le llega hasta el belly en mis notas de 30. Le llegué que tú amas odiar, yo tengo la grama y cuarto pa' gastar. Tú debes la mafia te sale a cobrar, nigga. Son los más trap y no viven el trap. No. La calle de empleo me encanta josear. Hey, me tiran de pañaja por lo que está. Seguimos en el bando moviendo el crack. Welcome to my black, tú de mal asiento. Grabaste mi nombre, me vine a quedar el movimiento. Hay que darme mi asiento. En mi sistema yo tengo 230 que me tienen lento. Hey, estoy pa' dinero, no cuento. La ñoña me costó 500. Me han frenado y soy yo el que lo cuento. Tu cuerpo tirado en el cemento. Hey, Amado Carrillo, el dueño de la ruta. No estamos buscando y sé que no te gustan. Los viví en mi cuello, no me hables de puca. Tú hablas de problemas, pero tú te asustas. Los Goonies con Uzi, cualquiera la usa. Hey, los pandas te apagan, ni que si te cruzan. Yo ando atrás de Ferry. En el bloque en 30 con los Grady, mis menores trap y moviendo el copper y tu puta en 4 le llega hasta el belly en mis notas de 30. Le llegué que tú amas odiar, yo tengo la grama y cuarto pa' gastar. Tú debes la mafia te sale a cobrar, yo ando atrás de Ferry. En el bloque en 30 con los Grady, mis menores trap y moviendo el copper y tu puta en 4 le llega hasta el belly en mis notas de 30. Le llegué que tú amas odiar, yo tengo la grama y cuarto pa' gastar. Tú debes la mafia te sale a cobrar.
Andamos atrás del ferry. A las 9 le daste y un peine de Terry. Te dieron un negro, los dimos tan ready. Fito los manitos, shout out to Big Terry. Mi Gary, un demonio está así pendedero. Y la mente es aquí por culpa de la Terry. Tirando los fallos, llámame Tom Brady. Hola, wey. Te frenó y tú subo la marea. Tú di que eres trapper pero no trapeas. Nada más ves perico cuando tú capeas. Ey, y tú crees que no mueres, tú eres San Andrea. La briquita que me frena pa' que veas. Y quisiera frenarte pero tú choteas. Yo ando loco, mis gangueros son Daniel Mafia peligroso. Pisando perico, soy maravilloso. Metido en la trampa, llámame tramposo. Got you nervous, te tengo nervioso. No quiero amistades, no soy amistoso. Yo un jefe de Lucifer, no va pa'l pozo.
Yo ando atrás de Ferry. En el bloque en 30 con los Grady, mis menores trap y moviendo el copper y tu puta en 4 le llega hasta el belly en mis notas de 30. Le llegué que tú amas odiar, yo tengo la grama y cuarto pa' gastar. Tú debes la mafia te sale a cobrar, yo ando atrás de Ferry. En el bloque en 30 con los Grady, mis menores trap y moviendo el copper y tu puta en 4 le llega hasta el belly en mis notas de 30. Le llegué que tú amas odiar, yo tengo la grama y cuarto pa' gastar. Tú debes la mafia te sale a cobrar.
Seguimos atrás de Ferry. Chingándonos putas como Gloria Trevi. Las percos no tienen estéreo. En tu bloque frenamos con semi. Fumamos la hierba y vendemos el coperi. Si cruzas la raya te mueres, mi menor y leve. Que fácil te hieren. Andamos en la vía y tenemos los seres. Mafia, no le presto atención. Yo tengo menores que salen por ti. Te pones de bruto y te puedes morir. La 40 que tengo tiene estando el clip. Escucha muy bien lo que te voy a decir. Si te veo son 17 de ahí. Oh my nigga, rap en 3. Oh my nigga, shoot en 3. Perquito, mejor vete el paso, no vaya a ser que yo te dé tu fuetazo. Compramos una aquí, la perco en el caco, los monchos y los mato con tacos. Si sobo y la saco, lo juro por Dios que los tiro van todos pa' tu caco. Sirviendo la droga pa' todo te cato, quemando la libra por seco.
Yo ando atrás de Ferry. En el bloque en 30 con los Grady, mis menores trap y moviendo el copper y tu puta en 4 le llega hasta el belly en mis notas de 30. Le llegué que tú amas odiar, yo tengo la grama y cuarto pa' gastar. Tú debes la mafia te sale a cobrar, yo ando atrás de Ferry. En el bloque en 30 con los Grady, mis menores trap y moviendo el copper y tu puta en 4 le llega hasta el belly en mis notas de 30. Le llegué que tú amas odiar, yo tengo la grama y cuarto pa' gastar. Tú debes la mafia te sale a cobrar, nigga.
I love Chris Rich.